Two scenarios. Best case scenario, you've been planning for this chaos to evolve for the last few weeks. You've got your food, your medicine, you've got all the things you need, you've got your bug out plans all laid out, and you're ready to go should things go bad. Second option, worst case scenario, things go bad and goes beyond what you could have comprehended. Now you're forced to do something that you did not want to do, but you're going to have to do it anyway. This is the Urban Sentinel, and let's get into it. No one likes a worst case scenario. Well, I like a worst case scenario simply for the fact that it gives your mind the opportunity to push beyond what was conceivable. It gives you that chance to view things from a perspective that hopefully you won't ever have to face. But should that situation arise, you'll be able to comprehend it and deal with it on a much better, higher level than someone who only believes that if it stays nice and neat within a box, that's exactly how things are going to be. In this worst case scenario, you've been preparing for hypothetically a chaotic event, possibly a false flag during the upcoming election. You know that there are contentious groups facing off against each other. You're well aware that there are many nations that do not like the U.S. as a whole, as a country, but don't dare to do anything overtly direct against us rather than subvertly, covertly utilizing whatever means necessary to ensure our downfall and demise. And it's far better to simply let the house burn than it is trying to entice and engulf the structure in a fire on its own. With that being said, one of the things that you have to be conscious of in a major catastrophe, something where it's beyond your town, it's beyond your county or your state or the region, it's a widespread event that is affecting every single place you could point your finger on a map, is you don't want to be outside in that chaos. You don't want to be outside when the calamity strikes. It might be something on domestic terrorism. It might be something on an external threat or force. It might be internal conflicts within different government agencies. It could be different groups and factions of different sizes organizing against each other, siding with other groups, only to turn the conflict against each other. You want to stay away from that. You want to stay away from the mobs that are just gathering to gather, because nothing good ever comes from that. You want to stay away from the areas that are going to be targeted by looters and rioters because they're out to get what they want and there's no one to stop them. You need to stay quiet. You need to stay in the shadows. You need to stay hidden. But unfortunately, even when you plan, sometimes you can't avoid going out. And in this particular video, I'm going to discuss some of the few options that you may want to think about when it does come to exiting your domicile, your shelter, your apartment, your home, wherever it is that you're bugging into at this moment, and you have to go out into the wildlands, as it were. So, barring a house fire or some type of structural damage that forces you to leave where you're located, or some type of major medical emergency that needs immediate attention that is beyond your capability, most people in a scenario like that would have to leave their sheltered, safe place and go out into the chaos, into the anarchy, because they ran out of certain supplies, or supplies that they had were compromised in some fashion that now they can't hide and hold out 20 days, 60 days, 90 days, 100 days, whatever it is they originally hoped to do. So with that being said, you have to be prepared to go out and scavenge. Now, I've covered videos on scavenging before, and primarily you have to understand what it is that you're looking for makes the difference in what you need to bring with you and how you need to go about mentally thinking about where you need to go and how you can acquire those supplies. And simply scavenging to pick up things on the side of the road, that is a waste of time. It's a futile effort. You need to have a specific goal. So if you're looking to get food versus medical supplies versus specific tools to repair something that you have or spare parts for something that's broken, you need to be able to comprehend what it is you're going to be doing and effectively take the most efficient means and tools that you have with you to get the job done. Now, I've talked about bug out bags, which would primarily be used already loaded up with food, medical supplies, spare clothing, things of that sort that you would take with you, whether you're going on foot, vehicle, whether you're just simply relocating from one shelter to another location and you're taking a predetermined route and you know how long it's going to take you to get you there. That's completely different. And I've talked about scavenger bags, which for the most part tend just to be anything from a decent rugged backpack, duffel bag, something of that sort to carry certain supplies. But depending upon what you're looking to transport, it may change how you get things about. And one of the things that you need to think about is getting a hand truck, some type of carry cart to bring with you, something that you could use to aid you in carrying certain supplies. Now on this cart, I've just got a few random tools just to give you an idea that if I'm going out to scavenge for spare parts for a generator or some type of device in my house to replace something, I may need various types of wrenches, pliers, screwdrivers. I may need to force my way into a structure, so I might need bolt cutters if I have to cut off a lock. I might need some type of demolition bar if I have to break open a door or break open sidewall. To speed the process up, you still may want to invest in some power tools, making sure that you have batteries for them, you can charge them up, because being able to use a Sawzall makes quick work rather than trying to pull stuff apart by hand. And of course, if you're looking for more automotive, you'd have those appropriate tools. If it's medicines and medical supplies, things like that that you're looking for, you may not need those, but depending upon where you're going, you may still need to figure a way to force entry into that structure to get those supplies. Now, this hand cart, steel, sturdy, inflatable tires, can carry a lot of weight. I probably use that if I were trying to acquire batteries for a home solar power system, or in my case, I've got a dual fuel generator, runs on gasoline and propane. So if I needed more propane, I can easily use that cart and I can stack at least 2 cylinders on it. Now I'd use more than one bungee cord and to make sure I'd secure the bottom and the top separately, but they're stacked on top of each other, so the weight from the upper one will help keep the lower one in place. But this will allow me to transport at least 2 cylinders per trip, depending upon how far I'm going. And I mentioned before, batteries. If anyone's ever picked up a car battery, especially the larger heavy-duty batteries, you could probably carry one without a problem. But if you need more than one, you're at least able to stack 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, same thing. Secure them down, and it makes transportation a lot easier and a lot smoother. This way you have to take fewer trips and you're exposed less to the potential hazards in the environment. Now, many people, I'm sure you've seen these little beach carts. Pretty much they fold flat. You can stick a bag in it. This one just has a polymer bag from IKEA inside, but you could use anything such as a contractor bag, fit it down in there. This is also a good way if you're transporting smaller, lighter supplies. Maybe you have a bug out bag or two, you've got some other equipment that you want to transport that's not too heavy, because this is a much lighter weight aluminum and it just simply has smaller pins and rivets. It's not meant to carry a large, heavy amount of weight. One, fitting inside of it, and then two, maneuvering it. The wheels themselves, they're not meant to take heavy pounds worth of weight. So you're not going to load this up with 3 truck batteries. You might be able to get away with the smaller lithium ion batteries, 2 or 3 of those, and you could probably do a 2 or 3 gallon can of gasoline, fitting it in there without a problem, maybe a 5-gallon jerry can. But overall, they're designed for lighter weight stuff. Now with something like that, you could definitely still transport cans of food and things of that sort, and you may want to consider that when you are actually looking to having to go out and scavenge for those things, because you can keep it flat, folded up, and bungee cord it literally across your shoulder and carry it that way until you need to use it, open it up, load it up. And with the bag being removable, you also have the option that if you needed to quickly hide it, you could pull out the items that are in the bag, keeping them in the bag, hide the bag, fold the cart up, hide that, get it out of the line of sight. One of the advantages is if you have the larger contractor bags, you won't even have to do that. You keep an extra one ready for use and you simply open it up and fold it over the top of it. Now you're thinking, oh, this looks absolutely ridiculous. We know that there's a shopping cart in there. Yes, you know it because you just saw the video of the shopping cart. But if you're out and you're in downtown, wherever, you're scavenging behind a shopping plaza, And you want to make sure that while you're going into another building to check to see if there's anything viable or useful that you need in there, and you can't lug your cart in because you have to go in through a window, you want to be able to tuck this off to the side by a dumpster with other trash and debris that I'm sure is going to be all over the place. It's less likely to catch the eye of someone. A black garbage bag with other black garbage bags with other trash and debris all over the place, no one's going to pay attention to until they physically go up and start searching bag to bag to bag. This will allow you to effectively step away from your goods, do other things, and if you have to, if for whatever reason someone spots you and you have to run or you have to hide, you have less of a chance of them finding your supplies while you're doing that. So hopefully if you can get out from where you're trapped, you can get your supplies and move on or come back for them later on. Now this one I kept in my truck just for the purpose of when I needed to be relatively hands-free while still transporting, you know, decent size items, I would load it up on this. It's a foldable cart, bottom down, back wheels come out. This button here and the handle pull up. Ugh. There we go. And now you've got yourself a little hand cart. It probably weighs about 4 pounds at the most. You could actually, again, bungee cord attachments so you can hold things on. You could literally wear this as a backpack if you had it secured and balanced properly, but it allows you that ease of operation where the steel hand cart, the hand truck that I had, that's big, that's bulky, that's pretty much, I'm going to be wheeling that down, loading it up with heavy stuff, and then dragging it back. There's really no getting around that. The basket cart, that's smaller, lighter, easier to close up, but still kind of an awkward shape. This one folds up, it's the smallest, and I've got a second one very similar. It's a little more heavy duty. It's along the same basic principle. The tray folds up, these wheels stay fixed, and then the top portion collapses down into it. So you see, size-wise, pretty much will end up being the same size. As the old Milwaukee here. As I mentioned earlier, weight is a primary thing for both your physical capability as well as the hand truck capability. So if you were looking to acquire and transport heavy items, you know, batteries, propane tanks, gasoline, you know, engine parts, that sort of thing, depending upon what size they are and how much they weigh, you definitely would want to consider a solid, more sturdier frame. Now, the reason why I don't particularly dislike the hand dollies and the pull-along wagons, they do have a benefit. I feel they are more on a long-term, long-distance use. Now, these hand trucks, these are for quick, fast, get in, get your stuff, and get out and move along quickly. They're meant to be used short-term, short distance, because you might be carrying it physically more than you're actually wheeling it along to get to the location and then you're getting back. Whereas if you have a pull-along wagon or some other type of flatbedded cart, or shopping cart even, as a perfect example, that's something where you're going to load up 80 pounds, 100 pounds worth of stuff, and you're going to be pushing and pulling that thing for miles upon miles upon miles, day after day after day. That's in a situation where, let's say, you know, automobiles are no longer functioning due to an EMP, due to the almost infinite inability to find fuel, whatever the case is. So everyone's walking, they're hoofing it, they're moving along. Then a case like that would be preferable, because then you can load up a cart with the supplies, you can load up those hand wagons, you can load up a wheelbarrow, and you can take those things and you can go for days upon days with it, being able to just load everything you need that you can carry into that. Whereas with these, you could use this to transport a few batteries. You could actually take this, if you're dropping off some supplies, you could load up a bug out bag, a large bag, strap it down with supplies, and then use that, wheel it along, and keep going. Again, you might use something like this to gather small supplies of food, medicine, loading those things up, and then a heavier duty one for when you know you've got some large objects that you need to move, and this will be the easiest way to get it done. So it comes down to, one, you have to take into consideration where you're at. Are you in a home? Are you in an apartment? Are you in the middle of downtown? Are you in a suburb area, rural country? And you also have to think about those possibilities of the supplies that you may need to scavenge, that you may have to go out and go farther than what you consider to find them. Or you may only have to go next door, down the block, across the street, whatever the case may be. But looking for what you need to get and then getting it back, that's the key thing. And again, I mentioned too, if your shelter is compromised where you physically can't stay there any longer, having your bug out bag loaded up, ready to go, throwing that on, great. Having one of these carts to then assist you in carrying a few extra supplies if you know that your backup location is 3 miles down the road, or it's at the most a 6-hour walk into the next county. It's a small area that you had set up a while ago, but you couldn't get there due to the initial chaos, whatever the situation may be. But if you are looking to basically, wander the streets like a character from Cormac McCarthy's book, The Road, using a shopping cart or some type of wagon or wheelbarrow might be more preferable, because then you can load up a larger camping tent. You can bring extra food, extra water, which is another critical thing that people tend to forget about, is you can carry so much and you can ration it out to last only so long, but you're going to have either resupplies along the way or some type of capability to carry a little bit more. So as you move along and use those supplies, the weight becomes less, so you're not as fatigued as the time and the hours and the miles go by. So many things to consider. This is just one of them. Having some type of scavenger cart, hand truck, hand dolly, whatever you want, whatever you think that you can manage and handle the best for your personal use, is what you want to start looking at putting together. I'm still looking at modifying one of the carts, reinforcing it a little bit, probably the basket cart, to make that a quick, light and easy transport. The Milwaukee foldable one, I leave that as is, and it's pretty much simple enough. I pop that thing open, fold it down. I've thrown, a couple of boxes worth of tools and gear on it and just strapped it down with a bungee cord, and off I go. So sometimes it is exactly as it is and it works without a problem. You may want to tweak and tune some things to make it a little more adaptable for your use. But not having one, not having something, means that if you do have to carry anything, it's going to be on your back, over your shoulder, or in your hands. And there may be times where you need to be hands-free for whatever the reason, whether it's simply to get over a fence or to move something out of the way. You don't want to have to now start pulling off bags and putting down things and having things fly all over the place. You keep it organized, keep it together, and then you can work out how you're going to transport that cart up and down something or through something, whatever the case may be. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll catch you in the next one.